Let's turn from there to something that should concern us at the moment, which is fuel. That's right. Fuel prices hiked again by 80 paise today. This was the 14th hike in 16 days. It means that over the last fortnight, fuel prices have risen by rupees 10 per litre. Now, both fuel and petrol selling more than 100 rupees a litre in many cities now. Mumbai topping it with over 120 rupees a litre in the maximum city. How is this hike, though, affecting the Aam Aadmi? And crucially, could it result in an inflationary spiral affecting other goods as well? That's the question we are going to raise. It's our top story tonight.
14th hike in 16 days. Fuel prices are up 80 paise again, and more than 10 rupees in 16 days. Petrol crossed the 100 mark a few days ago, and now diesel has also crossed it in many cities. The hike is burning a bigger hole in the pockets of the Aam Aadmi, with household budgets going for a toss.
सारी चीजें आप टमाटर महंगा, आलू महंगा, प्याज महंगी, सब्जी महंगी है तो सारा ही बजट है खराबी हो गया हमारे घर का तो बजट ही खराब है।
तेल पे भी भाव बढ़ा दिए, घी पे भी बढ़ा दिए, सब्जी पे भी बढ़ा दिए, अब गरीब आदमी क्या खाएगा?
तो कितना असर पड़ रहा है? पहले 100 रुपए अगर खर्च करती थी सब्जी पे तो अब कितना करना पड़ रहा है?
अब तो ज्यादा हो रहा है, अब तो 200 में भी सब्जी नहीं जाती है परिवार की।
The hospitality industry, which is still reeling under the impact of the pandemic, is facing the brunt of the hike in cooking gas prices. Commercial LPG cylinders now cost more than 2,250 rupees in the national capital.
दोनों चीज़ें गैस है हमारे पास जो आती है कुकिंग गैस एज वेल एज जो कुकिंग ऑयल है दोनों कम से कम ये तो 35% बढ़ गए हैं पिछले 3-4 महीनों में और अब अगर हम इसको पास ऑन करते हैं कस्टमर को तो कस्टमर कहेगा कि वैसे ही मेरे लिए इतनी महंगाई हो गई है और जो मिडिल क्लास लोग वैसे ही दबे पड़े हैं.
The price hike has hit auto rickshaw and cab drivers hard.
बहुत बड़ा असर है क्योंकि सीधा सीधा हमारी जेब के ऊपर बहुत तगड़ा असर हो गया है. ये समझ लीजिए रोजाना के 100 रुपये एक्स्ट्रा हो गए हैं हम लोगों के ऊपर. पहले हम लोग 140-150 में सीएनजी फुल करा लेते, इस टाइम 250 रुपये की फुल होती है.
The opposition has raised the spiraling fuel prices in parliament.
While the direct impact can be seen on the increase of prices of vegetables, those associated with the pharmaceutical and restaurant business say that they too are facing the brunt. While the cost of raw material is going up day by day, transportation cost is increasing, the profit margin is reducing. They say that if this trend continues, they will have to eventually pass on the burden on the customers as well. With video journalist Himanshu Sharma, this is Amit Bhardwaj for India Today from Delhi.
Now let's bust a few myths at the top, because it has been said that fuel prices are going up because of the Ukrainian war, because global prices are up. Now the fact is, fuel prices were not increased for a full 4 months between November and February during the elections in the 5 states. Remember, Brent crude price on December 2 was $70 a barrel. It continuously rose. On March 1, the rate was $105. But for these 4 months, petrol and diesel prices remained static, rupees 95.41 paise and 86.67 paise per litre in Delhi. So while global prices were rising between November and March, our oil companies did not pass on the burden to consumers. Why? Because there were elections. The first hike then comes on March 22nd. This is after the election results have been announced. By then, crude prices have risen to $116. Remember, the war in Ukraine is on at that time. Crude touches $121 a barrel on March 23rd. Now, significantly, crude has gone down since to $107. But petrol and diesel prices have kept rising in India over the last fortnight. Today, a litre of petrol costs 105.41 rupees in Delhi, diesel rupees 96.67. It's much higher in Mumbai, where it's cost 120. The point I am making is can we really say that fuel prices are being linked to global prices? Or is this simply the oil companies doing what they believe is at that particular moment for them the instructions they are given by the government? My question tonight, does the Modi government have an inflation battle plan? Is the fuel price hike the only option at the moment? Price freeze during polls? What is happening now? Why the burden being passed on to the customer? Is it because of the excise and duties and taxes that the government is collecting? Gourav Vallabh, Congress's spokesperson, joins me. Sanju Verma, BJP spokesperson, and Rahul Srivastav, our national affairs editor, is with us. Sanju Verma, since you often complain that you don't get enough time, my only request to you at the start, don't cross-talk when the other person is speaking. I am going to give you 90 seconds to just explain to me what is the government's policy when it comes to fuel prices. Because the fact is, in the last fortnight, there have been at least 3 days when global crude prices have gone down, and yet in India, the prices have kept going up. Please explain to me, can you give me what the government, Modi government's policy towards fuel is? Is it simply to use it as a cash cow and pass the burden on to the customer, especially the middle classes? Your 90 seconds starts now.
Thank you, Rajdeep. And, since you don't want me to cross-talk, I don't want you to, interject me also unnecessarily because that disturbs the flow of my, argument. First and foremost, I have said this ad nauseum that the central government took the initiative last year of reducing excise on petrol and diesel. Thereafter, most BJP-ruled state governments reduced the value-added tax, the VAT on petrol and diesel, by anywhere between 12 rupees to as much as 1717 rupees per litre. So the central government did its bit, expecting the state government to do their bit as well. Now, while I'm going to tell you what the central government's plan is in terms of containment of inflation, I would simply like to also draw the attention of your audience to the fact that the very Congress which is out on the streets every second day giving press bites to the media, my simple question is, why is it that in Congress-ruled Rajasthan, the reduction in VAT on petrol and diesel is only a measly 4%. In Chhattisgarh, it is an embarrassing 1%. In Maharashtra, it is a big 0. And as you and me speak currently, Rajdeep, your audience needs to know which are the two places in India with the highest petrol price per litre. It is Parbhani in Maharashtra, again ruled by the Congress. 121 rupees 38 paise is what petrol is selling at in Parbhani, and in Sri Ganganagar in Rajasthan, which is again ruled by the Congress, petrol is retailing at 120 rupees 73 paise. So state governments have to also take their share of the burden in terms of reducing value-added tax, which Congress governments are refusing to do with brazen impunity. Now, point number 2, why is it that food inflation is also on the rise? Here, I have an unpopular opinion, Rajdeep. September, October, November of 2021, food inflation in India was 0.67, 0.85 and 1.87% respectively. I do agree that in February 2022, food inflation went up to 5.85%. But, the rise in food inflation in India is less than 6%, whereas in the last 1 year, globally, the price of wheat has gone up by more than 150, more than 150%, from barely $5 a bushel to more than $13 a bushel. The price of soya bean has gone up by close to 89%, from $9 a unit to almost $17 a unit. Ditto goes for commodities. The price of last 2 years has risen from $100 to a high of $239, and steel prices went through the roof from $500 2 years back to more than $1,250 per ton. Now, despite being an oil importing country, despite being a net commodities importer, the fact that India has managed to rein in average inflation at less than 6% is a massive achievement. I have the latest data. Between April 2021 and February 2022, India's retail inflation is 5.37%.
Your time, I'm going to stop you now. I'm going to stop you because your 2 minutes are up.
10 seconds.
No, your time is up. You made your point. I'll let Gourav Vallabh respond. Gourav Vallabh, let's start because before we come to other commodities, let's focus on fuel, because I still haven't got an answer from Sanju Verma as to why there is no direct correlation between global prices and what's happening in India if petrol is deregulated. I'll come back to her to answer that direct question. But you answer the question that she has posed, that it's one thing to say that the government of the day at the center is taxing fuel exorbitantly. The other question is, what about state taxes? She's right to say that Maharashtra and Rajasthan, at the moment, the retail price of petrol is much higher than BJP-ruled states.
Just for the information of Madam and your viewers, in Bhopal also the petrol is sold at 119 rupees a litre, just for her information. But I don't want to enter into this debate of passing the responsibility. The question which is first and foremost, that who had increased the excise duty on petrol from 9 rupees to 22 rupees? Who had increased the excise duty on diesel from 3 rupees 50 paisa to 22 rupees? The answer is Modi government. And by doing that, by increasing the excise duty on petrol by 200+% and excise duty on diesel by 500+%, Modi government had collected in last 8 years 26.51 lakh crore rupees. And in our country, we have 26 crore family. So without informing us, Modi government had collected from each family of our country 1 lakh rupees as fuel tax. Where is that money? Why that money can't be utilized when the global oil prices are going up? Why that money can't be utilized to give relief?
That money is going into free ration at election time. That money during COVID years, this is what government sources tell us, goes into providing people public benefits in tough times like COVID times.
Rajdeep, we have GST, we have corporate tax, we have personal income tax, we have other disinvestment sales. Where is the money going on? This 1 lakh rupee per family, Indian family had paid to Modi government in the form of fuel tax because they had filled petrol and diesel in their vehicles, because they had used petrol and diesel while commutation. My question is very simple, Rajdeep, that in last 14 days, the additional burden due to hike in petrol is 27,000 crore and hike in diesel is 72,000 crore. In other words, in last 14 days, additional, because of this hike in 10 rupees and litre, the additional yearly burden on people of our country comes out at nearly 1 lakh crore. How they are going to pay? If you ask Rajdeep a question on unemployment, they will say COVID. If you ask a question on the increase in the fuel prices by 10 rupees a litre, they will say Russia, Ukraine. And what the hell you guys are doing here? And when you ask them to reduce the excise duty, you will shift the battle to the state government. If you are going to reduce the excise duty...
No, 1 minute. Gourav Vallabh, before I move... No, you will shift the battle to the state government, but what stops the state government of the Congress, be it in Rajasthan or Maharashtra, from showing that we are really concerned... No, ma'am, you will not intervene. You are concerned about the consumer. You show us a model state.
Rajdeep, I am coming to that. State government charges ad valorem tax. So
no, there's no monologue. You were also allowed equal time.
See, if Government of India reduces the excise duty, automatically the state VAT is going to reduce. So that's what I am saying. If Government of India reduces excise duty to 2014 level, the petrol and diesel prices will be reduced by at least 18 rupees a litre.
Okay.
When it will come down by 18 rupees
so you are saying, okay, you made your point now. You made your point, to which, Sanju Verma, you did not answer that. Between 2014 and 17, global crude prices were low. In fact, at one stage at an all-time low in 2015, you did not pass on the benefit to the consumers. What did you do instead? You increased excise by almost 200% over 3 years. Instead of passing on the benefit to consumers when global oil prices were low, you used it to garner resources. Now when global prices are high, you've chosen to pass on the burden to the consumers. You have, when there were elections between November and February, you did not pass on the burden to consumers because you wanted to win an election. Clearly, the oil companies are not independent. Oil is not deregulated. The government of the day is using fuel as its weapon for election victories or to garner resources? I want clarity. What is the Modi government's policy on fuel? Answer that, 60 seconds uninterrupted.
Rajdeep, I did not think you were asking a question. You were behaving like a Congress spokesperson, trying to lay out what all has gone wrong with the Modi government. I don't think you're an economy-related expert to wax eloquent on what the
I'm
government
asking a
should do or
question.
should not
Again, you're
do in
making
terms
it personal.
of
No, ma'am.
economic-
Stop making it personal. I asked a simple question. I speak for the people of this country.
Please
You
ask
cannot get
questions.
away without.
Don't
You
make
cannot. Don't make
allegations.
me
Your
the.
job
Don't
is to
shoot
ask
the
questions,
messenger.
not to
You
make
answer my
allegations.
question.
Your job is to ask questions.
I
not to
asked the
make
question.
allegations.
Please tell me. Why did you not pass
you
on
gave
the
a
benefit
lamba
to
bhashan.
consumers?
You gave a lamba
2014 to
chauda
17, global oil
You gave
prices
a
were at
lamba
an all-time
chauda
low.
bhashan.
Why did you not
BJP
pass on?
rather than
Answer
doing
me
the
the
job and
question.
asking me a
Answer my
pointed
question.
Yes, so please allow me to answer.
Please go ahead.
You gave a lamba chauda bhashan and now you want me to respond to your bhashan in 60 seconds. Wow, that's called being unfair.
Okay.
Let me tell you very clearly, Rajdeep Sardesai, since you keep asking what has the Modi government done, what has the Modi government done, what has the Modi government done, this is what the Modi government has done. Today we run the world's largest financial inclusion program called Jan Dhan Yojana with more than 45 crore bank accounts open. During COVID, we were giving free ration every month to 81 crore people, and the total cost is going to be 3.4 lakh crore because the government has decided to extend the scheme. There is free COVID vaccination for those who cannot afford it in government hospitals. The total cost is more than 65,000 crore. The total amount of money that is being spent every year on modernization of railways is 1.6 lakh crore. The total amount of money that is being spent on roads and highways is more than 2.3 lakh crore.
So you're using
The Modi
fuel tax to
government runs
mobilize
the world's
resources.
largest healthcare scheme called Ayushman Bharat. Please wait for a minute. The Modi government runs the world's largest food security program, the largest healthcare program in the world. Do you know something, Rajdeep? What is the price of fertilizer in international market? It is almost 40 to 50,000 rupees a ton. Do you know at what price our farmers get fertilizer? They get it at 5,200 rupees a ton. So the Modi government is working not for elitists. The Modi government is working for people lower down the rung.
Okay.
Who gave women bank account holders 500 rupees every month during COVID?
Your 60 seconds is up. Your 60
I
seconds is
want
up.
to
No,
ask you
your 60. I will stick to time,
Please
everyone.
wait, I will
Rahul
finish in
Srivastava,
20 seconds.
producer.
Let me ask you one thing.
No. Rahul Srivastava, you heard Sanju Verma, you heard Gourav Vallabh. Sanju Verma seems to be suggesting, when I asked her the direct question, that why don't you pass on the benefit to consumers when global fuel prices come down? Her answer seems to be, look, without saying in so many words, look at all the schemes that we have done, effectively suggesting that the resources we are collecting from taxing fuel are going into these pro-poor schemes. Is that how the government will defend its fuel policy at the moment? Therefore, fuel could keep rising, go past 130 as well, because the monies collected will be used for these pro-poor schemes that win you elections.
Rajdeep, actually the inflation picture really went bad sometime in July last year. It was at that time when it went past the 6% mark, which the RBI had fixed as a benchmark. Now, since then, what has been happening is that there has been a certain amount of recovery. Crude went up first because of that. Edible oil prices went up. All this has been happening. But Rajdeep, I think the benchmark should be that if during elections, fuel prices are capped, they stay dormant, and only after elections are over, they're kept. I think one should remember that prices have always been a matter of politics. Now, how do you beat politics? Now, what can you do, Rajdeep, right now? For example, government's revenue sources have dried up virtually. It is depending on fuel taxes, GST, income taxes and other. There are no new avenues available. GST is rising nominally or notionally, but there is no great spurt in demand. Beyond that, if you see that the government finds it very difficult at this moment because it has to look at growth. So RBI is more bothered, less about inflation, more about the growth recovery element. Now, in this, what has been happening, Rajdeep, is basically a political game is being played or an economic game is being played in which what the government has been doing, and if Gourav Vallabh has made a very valid point, the government collected 26 lakh crore. That is a whopping amount of money. But Rajdeep, every pie the government earns, 41% goes to the states. So if the center is earning more, even the states are earning more. Rajdeep, it's a very clever little game that you take money from the public from one pocket through fuel tax as another, and you give them as dole in other pocket. The public eventually will have to weigh what they have gained in the process. Rajdeep, everybody is paying indirect taxes because you buy toothpaste, you buy everything else. So if a fuel prices have gone up, eventually a farmer also has ended up paying the indirect taxes.
Let me take that to Gourav Vallabh, because
vaccination drive, you are funding 3.5 lakh crore rupees for the food drive. So the government says we have given you this, but what have you taken away? The government does not give a measure of that. And
Gourav
even the state governments are doing the same thing now.
Let's be honest, when it comes to fuel, state governments are also getting the benefit of this tax rate, of the hike in taxes. It's not as if the money is only being cornered by the Modi government at the center. It's passed on to the states, which is why states also are not objecting. It's very interesting. We are not seeing protests from the Maharashtra government where you have a opposition-ruled government. We are not seeing protests in Bengal where there is an opposition-ruled government, because they are also benefiting from these high taxes.
Firstly, Rajdeep, Rahulji made a very good points, but one point he is technically wrong. Because when he says that on this 26 lakh crore, state governments are getting money, he is wrong, because Government of India had cleverly imposed the cess. And on cess, there is no devolution. State governments are not going to get anything on the cess. So this 26 lakh crore, primarily the major portion, and when I say major portion, around 80% of that will be there in the kitty of the Government of India. Second thing, Sanju Verma ji had made a point that we had used this 26 lakh crore for development program. Madam, as an economist, this is the worst thing you can do, because this 26 lakh crore which you had collected is regressive in nature. So petrol and diesel prices, when you impose tax, the same tax you collect from Ambani and Adani, the same tax you collect from the middle income group people of our country, and the same tax you collect from the lower income group of our country. So that is the worst taxation policy as far as economics is concerned. Then you had raised a point of dynamic oil prices or petrol prices. Rajdeep, this is the daily good morning gift. Modi ji gives good morning message on WhatsApp to everyone that today I had increased by 80 paisa. Today I had increased by 40 paisa. Please don't interrupt.
Please stop talking gibberish.
Please, ma'am. Thoda sa decency. People are watching you.
Stop talking gibberish.
No. He must be allowed to speak. You may think it's gibberish, ma'am. He's not calling what you're saying gibberish. Let you hear him. When I ask you, you can say gibberish. Go ahead.
So Rajdeep,
for you,
the fuel prices are not dynamic. Yes. The fuel prices are Modi-namic. When I say Modi-namic, today Modi ji is in a good mood because he had seen a more dancing in his garden, so he is imposing 40 paisa. Today there is no more dancing, no peacock is dancing in his garden, so he is giving good morning gift of 80 paisa. So there is no dynamism in the...
No, 1 minute, ma'am, you will not intervene. Producer.
Then please.
But
please have...
Yes, go ahead.
Some decency.
Gaurav Vallabh, complete your point.
So I am saying the Modi ji is giving daily good morning gift to the citizens of our country every day based on his mood. Sometimes he gives 80 paisa hike in petrol and diesel, sometimes 40 paisa hike, and 40 paisa and 80 paisa is dependent on whether the peacock is dancing in the garden or not.
Okay, that's your Gourav Vallabh. Now let me turn to Sanju Verma. Sanju Verma, just a minute. Sanju Verma, just a minute. The government keeps saying that the oil companies are taking these calls on fuel price hike. I am giving you particular days now, March 25th, March 29th and April 5. On all these days, the price of global crude oil decreased, but domestic fuel price rose on that particular day. Do we deserve as consumers an explanation or not for this? If you are saying oil is deregulated, if you are saying it is linked to global prices, am I as a consumer not going to get the benefit of it? Are you telling me, we the middle class consumers will have to pay so that the schemes that your government has in place can actually work on the ground? Say that. Be open about it. We are mobilizing, mopping up resources for these various schemes. Please don't look at global prices.
Rajdeep, I'm coming to your question. I'm responding, please. First and foremost, Rahul Srivastava made a very valid point. I discussed this last time also on your debate a week back, and I'll just reinforce that. The government collects for every 100 rupees, that petrol sells at. Taxes account for 45 rupees 30 paise, out of which the central government share is 29 rupees and the state government share is 16 rupees 30 paise. But as Rahul said, 41% of what the central government collects actually goes to the state. So in the end, the central government does not make as much money, but the state government actually makes 28 rupees 19 paise for every 100 rupees that is collected. So state governments need to stop whining and pretending that they are holier than thou. Point number two, you asked a very valid point, what the government done for middle class. Rajdeep, I have the LPG prices because I think LPG prices affect all of us. 736 rupees, average price in 2018, 659 in 2019, 858 in 2020, 849 in 2021 and 949 rupees as we speak in 2022. In the last 5 years, the average LPG price is 810 rupees 20 paise. In January 2014, a few months ahead of elections, the Congress should answer. LPG was retailing in Delhi at 1,241 rupees per cylinder. So please stop giving bhashan to the BJP. As for the middle class, Rajdeep, tell me, 50 rupees hike in gas cylinder price, assuming you use one gas cylinder every month. How much is the hike? How much is the hike? The hike is 600 rupees in an entire year. The Modi government has increased your standard deduction from 30,000 rupees to 40 or 50,000 rupees as the case may be. The Modi government has kept interest rates at the lowest ever. The repo rate continues to be 4%. It is the benchmark rate. It is the lowest currently for any comparable economy globally. And remember that every time the repo rate rises by is more on a 1 crore loan for 20 years. So by keeping repo rate at 4%, if you are somebody who's borrowing a home loan or a car loan, you actually have benefited to the tune of massive amount of money.
The economic logic seems to be we will take from one hand and try and give you a little bit from the other. Quick response, Gourav Vallabh, and then I'll get a final word from Rahul Srivastava. Very quick.
Rajdeep, first and foremost, as I told, that this 26 lakh crore, which was collected as a fuel loot tax by Government of India, is in the form of cess. So state governments are not getting anything. That's what I was telling. And second point, Rajdeep, when the unemployment rate is at 7.5%, when the country is facing worst unemployment in last 45 years, and as we have seen that the GST collections and income tax are not picking up, on that day, if you are increasing the fuel prices in last 14 days by 10 rupees a litre, it is a crime. It is a crime. I will say it is a crime.
The politicians have had their say. Producer, let's take it to Rahul Srivastava for a final word. Rahul Srivastava, give us what you expect to happen in the next few months. Given the fact that there is no election till late this year, are we going to therefore see fuel possibly crossing 130 rupees? Because as you said, this is the one source of resource mobilization for a resource-starved government at the moment.
Yes, Rajdeep, it's not just for the central government, but also for the state government. If Delhi wants to give free electricity or discounted electricity, where is the money coming from? It's coming from tax, which is VAT, which is taken in percentage value. So each time the oil companies raise the prices by 80 paise, Mr. Kejriwal and his Finance Minister Manish Sisodia, they are laughing their way to the bank.
Okay, Rahul's image unfortunately has frozen, but as he said, expect more hikes therefore in the months ahead. My only question is, then please stop this fiction and hoax that our oil companies are truly independent, oil has been deregulated, because that is simply not the case. Fuel is political and it has clearly political ramifications. I wonder what happened to all those who claimed in the UPA years though that they were going to cycle to work. For now, Sanju Verma, Gourav Vallabh, thank you very much for joining me on the fuel debate.